Okay, so we're going to get going here, and just wanted to welcome everyone to the CFA Study Techniques presentation. My name's Prof Gordon. I'm the Director of Learning at Exam Success. A little bit about myself, just while people are still coming in here, I can see, I've been teaching CFA prep programs since 1999. That's when I got the charter. So a long time, many years of going through this material and the curriculum and teaching programs, helping students through distance learning online or live in class, and also creating study materials that are helpful for individuals in preparation if they're self-studying, study notes and practice questions and other types of material. So I'll talk about a little bit about using those kind of resources. I think that is something that people may be interested in. And just one other point, let me just drop down here. I promise I'll keep my eye on our email inbox. If you want to submit a question, if you've got any questions, throughout this broadcast, send them to us at info@examsuccess.ca. If we're having a little trouble with the interaction on this webinar, send us your questions. I promise I'll keep one eye on that inbox, and as we go through, answer questions as they come up. If I don't get to the questions throughout this presentation, then I will certainly answer them after if the presentation and follow up. If you have any questions at all, just in terms of how to prepare for the exams, what the exams are about, or you just have questions about the exams in general, I'm happy to help you out and lend my experience with that. And even if you want comments on other things, study materials that you're using, I've seen it all, been around for many years. So I encourage you to do that. And so if you want to make it a little bit more interactive, you can send questions to info@examsuccess.ca. I'm also open if you have any questions. You could always call us. If you're in Toronto or Canada, you can call us at our 416 number, or we've got a toll-free number. You can call us, and I'm happy to answer questions there. So, okay, while other people are joining in, let me just say one other thing. If you have any technical difficulties at all and something happens, this will be available for rebroadcast, so you can watch it again and go through it again, or come back to it. So just to let you know that you won't miss anything there. So so it's Prof Gordon speaking, the Director of Learning at Exam Success. And Exam Success, we follow the approved prep provider guidelines from CFA Institute. You can find us on their website. We've been around for many years, since 1999, as I said, providing prep programs for candidates preparing for all three levels. We are a certified education institution from the Government of Canada, so that may be of significance for some students because our courses qualify for the education tuition tax credits. So that may be of help if you're looking, in terms of taking a program with us. But on the agenda tonight is to talk about the CFA exam program and how to prepare for it. And we call that our study techniques. So let me just jump right in, and we'll scroll down here. And I just want to talk about this CFA exam experience. And so, you may or may not be aware of this. So let me just point out some of these key points. Whether you're studying for levels 1, 2, or 3, it's pretty much the same. I mean, there's a ton of material. I mean, in general, there's pretty much 3,000 plus pages of content. That's the curriculum. You've got to go through this material, and it covers subjects such as quantitative methods, that's statistics, and then it goes into accounting and economics and equity valuation, fixed income. There's derivatives. I mean, about the courses, the topics that are outlined. But what I'm getting at is there's a ton of material. how are you supposed to go through this material and be able to then, bring it down towards the exam? So we're faced with this first challenge, and we need to have techniques on how to get through that. So we'll talk about this. The next issue, just to be aware of, is this sampling. And I write down only a sampling. Well, what I'm referring to is the actual exam. The actual exam is only a sampling of the curriculum. Okay? Just think about that. Level 1, we have 240 questions. So 240 questions to cover all of this material. They can't possibly test you on every single item that you're going to see in that curriculum. So it's only a sampling of the curriculum. You might study something and think it's so significant, and it turns out that it doesn't even show up on the exam. Level 2, there's 120 questions on the exam. So even tighter. Wow, only 120 questions covering that entire curriculum. Again, what if you focus in on something that you think is important, but it doesn't even show up on the exam? Or what if you skip something that you think is not important and it shows up on the exam? Then you're in big trouble. So this is very important, connecting the material to the actual exam. And then for level 3, well, it changes a bit. There's the essays and then the item sets. So the only comment that I could really have here to say is for your essays, you're going to be looking at about 10 or 11 multi-part essay questions. And then in the afternoon, you're going to be looking at the item sets. So you're only looking at about 60 questions in terms of item sets, and about 10 or 11 essay questions. So the key point to take away is we've got a ton of material. We've got to get through that. We've got to prepare ourselves for this exam, which is only a sampling of that curriculum. We need direction. Okay, so I'm just thinking about this down here. This is key. Direction. Okay, or you might refer to this as guidance. Okay, so how do you get through it? Okay, that's something that we'll talk about. The next item just to be aware of is time pressure. And I'm talking about the time pressure, on the exam day. When you're writing the exam, and you must work quickly, and you don't have time to stop and think about these questions. Level 1, you've got about 1.5 minutes per question. Level 2, they say 3 minutes a question. And then level 3, you've got that same item set, 3 minutes per question. And then the morning, the essays. Let me just say here, for the level 3, I'll just put it down here. The essays, these are really time consuming, and I found a lot of candidates get lost and run out of time on the essays for level 3. That is really going to reduce your chances of passing and probably eliminate them if you only get to question 8 and there's 11 questions. And don't think it doesn't happen. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of students over the years. They mismanage their time, no matter what level you're talking about. Level 1, if you only get to question 100 out of the 120 questions in the morning, or get to 100 out of 120 questions in the afternoon, you're in big trouble, and you're probably going to have to repeat the exam. So time pressure on the exam. You must work quickly. You really need to know what you're talking about. That is the key. Okay, so know what you are talking about, and what does that really mean? It means know what you are looking at. Really, on this exam, you're going to see a lot of material presented in tables and charts and word problems using specific language. You need to know what you're looking at and how to interpret it. So again, I've come across a lot of candidates who have excellent knowledge. They can talk about it. They've studied this in other places, but they really drop down when it comes to the performance on the exam. So we've got a ton of material. We've got to boil this down to just a sampling on the actual exam. Then you get to exam day, and now you've got this time pressure. And if you run out of time, that is really severely limits your chances of passing. And the final point here that I'm just talking about in this introduction, which you may already know, okay, everybody is busy. Everybody has full schedule. I mean, now the challenge is to balance, or even fit in, if you want to say that, time to study. Okay, and this is really critical. Okay, we've got families, we've got work pressure. We want to prepare for these exams. Okay, I think that you must carve out time and prepare. Do you need 300 hours? Okay, I mean, where that comes from? I don't know. Okay, I'm an educator. I spent almost 15 years as a full-time prof teaching, and then 17 plus years in the CFA prep business and other financial industry exam prep business. The time you need to prepare is specific to your situation. If you happen to be someone who has an advanced background in mathematics, then you probably don't need to review the basics. If you have an advanced background in corporate finance and securities analysis, again, you probably don't need to review the basics, and you can start to jump into what I call the high payoff activities. If you're coming at this with a background from somewhere else and it's not finance, you're going to have to put in many hours. Okay, so there's no way around it, and no matter what your background is, okay, and it doesn't matter if you're a PhD in finance. It doesn't matter. I think that you must study. And so you must study the CFA material. Gone are the days when you could just walk into this exam and pass it. Gone are the days if you said, oh, you know what, I'm a PhD in finance, or I've taken all of this material, I'm an accountant. No problem. The CFA curriculum has ballooned in content, over 3,000 pages. The sampling, the types of questions that relate back to that curriculum are very specific, and they're written in such a way that you need to demonstrate an understanding or a knowledge of that curriculum. So I think you must study. So, if you're not prepared to study, then I think that, right away you're setting yourself behind. Okay, so don't think that you're coming out of a commerce background or a master's of business or something and you're just going to ace this exam. So you must study. You have to carve out the time. The bottom line is, you're asking yourself, why go after earning a CFA charter. That is our question. You know why you're going after earning the CFA charter, because you know that it's going to pay off in terms of your career. And so the CFA, earning a CFA charter, I think is a powerful designation that is going to propel your career. It's going to help you to get into the industry. It's going to help you to move up to that next position in the industry. So I want to be clear in terms of this CFA charter and what you're going after. And, I talk about this in terms of saying that the CFA charter is for marketing. And that is it. It's for marketing yourself. Sure, you're going to learn a lot of things along the way, but, put together the points that we've just talked about. Over 3,000 pages of material. The actual exam is only a sampling, 240 questions on level 1. I could write 240 questions just on the economics material. Keep that in mind, okay? A lot of time pressure. Okay, a lot of candidates, are not studying the right way. They end up not passing. So The purpose of this is to earn the charter so that you can propel your career. That's where it comes in. So here's a little bit of an introduction. I hope that's something along the lines of what you were thinking. And now, this may have been obvious, it may not have been, but I just want to talk about this, for first-time writers, people who are just looking at this for the first time. You've decided to enroll in the CFA program. Why did you do that? I think you understand that you now need to augment your credentials for some reason. Is it because you wanted to read through 3,000 pages? I don't know. I doubt that. So we know why we're here. Okay, we're here to earn the CFA charter because it's going to propel our career. First-time writers, you got to be aware of all of the materials that are available to you, okay? And do not underestimate this task. Okay, so I'm just going to write down here, underestimate. I'm telling you, when I talk about this, I better spell it correctly. Okay? When I talk to a lot of candidates, they underestimate the task. Okay, people who've written the exam, they know. I don't even have to say anything here. You know how difficult it is, and now you got to ask yourself, why? Okay, why weren't you successful down here? Okay, so we got to look at this, and I hope it's because you didn't study. That's the easiest one. If you didn't study, we know exactly what you need to do. You need to carve out the time, and you must study. Okay, that's the bottom line here. Okay, so there's no way around it. Okay, you must study. If you studied and you still didn't pass, now we got to move into a different phase, a different action. We got to figure out why. Okay, why didn't you pass? Did you skip over sections? Did you just not practice enough questions? Did you read the material and that was all you did? So we got to start to think about why you didn't pass. This will dictate the course of action. So first-time writers, I don't want you to underestimate the task, no matter what your background is. Okay, this is a program where you must put in the hours to prepare. Do you need those 300 hours? No, I've already talked about that. It depends upon your background, and we'll talk about how you're going to know how many hours. If you were not successful, okay, you know that this is a difficult task. You got to ask yourself why. And then we got to think about what the correct course of action is going to be. Okay? And that's where we're going. If you got questions about that, you want to talk about your situation, happy to help you out and give you my thoughts. Just send me an email, info@examsuccess.ca, and I'm happy to go through it with you. So with this in mind, where do we go? Well, let's just jump right in here. First off, I just want to talk about the passing score, because this is it. I just hope that well, I'll give away my secret here, okay? We'll talk about some of my key points here. This is the starting point. At level 1, where we have 240 questions, what is the passing score? Well, CFA Institute doesn't tell us this, so I'm going to give you my guess. And I think a score of 160 out of 240, I think that's pretty close to a pass. Okay, so this is somewhere around 66%. There's rumors floating around that you need 70% to pass. I doubt that you need that 70% exactly. So first thing we need to do is set a target. So you set this target. I think if you can get 160 marks out of 240 questions, I think that sends you to level 2. Level 2 writers, we only have 120 questions on this exam. And now, again, just to use this figure, nice and easy, I'm going to cut right in here. I think you need about 180 out of 120. That's 66%. Really, if I wanted to get down there, I might say it's somewhere around, let's say 72 or 73. 72 out of 120. Now you're talking about 60%. It's got to be somewhere in here. Okay, this is a difficult exam. Level 2, There's many factors contributing to its difficulty, and it's no surprise a lot of candidates say it's the most difficult exam. The item set format is very tricky. You got to be able to connect the information that they're giving you to be able to answer their CFA questions. Okay? And then dive deep into the concepts so that you can understand what they're giving you and be able to answer those questions. So level 2, I think, somewhere between 65, 66%. I say let's be conservative, say 66%. That's probably enough to get you on to level 3. And then level 3, there's 360 marks available. And so in my opinion, I think if you can get around 220 out of the 360, that's probably enough to get you through for the charter. I mean, 220, yeah, that's probably around where you need. And, for level 3, the essay questions, these are the ones that seem to give people a lot of trouble. And I see a lot of candidates who prepare and they have no idea what to write on these essays. They look at the guideline answers given from CFA Institute on their mocks and their past exams, and they look at those answers and they're still lost. And I have to tell you that I've never been a grader for CFA Institute, but as a prof, I've graded lots of papers, and I know the process of grading. I set out a marking scheme and a skeleton answer, and I know what I'm looking for. And when I start to go through the papers, I start to look at their answers, and are they along the lines of what I was looking for? And I start to work from there. I can only imagine what a grader does who's staring at a pile of 1,000 or 2,000 essay answers. I don't know how many they go through, but I can only imagine what they do. They must have such a tight grading scheme. So we must learn how to structure our answers in a way that gives graders the opportunity to award us marks. So that's on the essay questions. Okay, the item set questions, well, those go back to kind of the level 2 training. So people have told me that the afternoon, the item set seemed to be a little bit easier of a go, but it's this essay section, the morning, which seems to be the key for level 3. So here we go. We've got this. We've got these targets. And let me come back and clean this up a little bit. Level 1, level 2, you're looking at about 66% there. That's what I'd say. Okay, so level 3, maybe even a little bit lower there, maybe 60% again. So we set our targets. I think this is important because now we have something to aim for. Now we have something to build up to. And how are we going to do this? So the techniques that I start to talk about, I call it the Prof Gordon method. And here it is. I've got 4 steps here. So number 1 is to build your knowledge base. And remember, this refers back to the 3,000 plus pages of the curriculum. Where are you getting that from? Are you going through the curriculum, and word for word? That's nice if you've got the time, but it may not be realistic. So do you turn to study notes? Hey, there's lots of providers out there who have study notes. Kaplan, 2,000 pages. I have my own study notes. My study notes are 500 pages. There's many providers out there. The key is, where are you going to get that knowledge? I mean, does this drop it down to 2,000 pages? Here, let me just write this down here. The Prof Gordon notes, only 500 pages. And you might say, well, what does that mean, 500 pages? How are you going to get the knowledge? I mean, the curriculum's 3,000 pages. Well, I want to tell you, no matter what study notes you're using, or if you're using my notes, you got to make sure that they're a good fit. Okay, listen, if you have a background, a background. Did I spell background correct? Not even close. Background in finance or commerce or accounting, any type of background, along the lines of the curriculum, then I think that my notes are going to give you this knowledge. They're going to give you the foundation. They're going to give you a source that you can go back to and you can refer to again and again and keep it in your mind over many, many months. So if you've got a background in finance, commerce, accounting, you've got, or let's say, even let's say you're a repeating candidate. And this isn't your first attempt at the exam. So you've gone through the curriculum or other material. You don't want to go back and read 3,000 pages or go through study notes of 2,000 pages again. You need to get right in there. You need to get the curriculum, the key points down, working through the learning outcome statements, and you can do it really quickly using my material. Lots of candidates say it's really they commented to say how it was really these are like the study notes of the study notes, and they dropped it right in there. A nice succinct source. So you can now get yourself onto what I talk about as the high payoff activities. Okay, so you've built your knowledge base, okay, and you must have this. Okay, and I'll talk about this. I'll talk about being honest with yourself. So now you've got your knowledge base. Now we got to get into anticipating these exam questions. You're going through the curriculum. You're going through material. And now, what is going to be on the exam? And I think that a lot of this material, so what is going to be on the exam? And I think a lot of this material is very predictable. Can I tell you exactly what's going to be on the exam? No, not every question, but hey, let's just cut down some of our study time here. If you're going into the level 1 exam and you don't know the difference between arithmetic mean and geometric mean, I think you got to know it. And so what I think that you need to do is I think you need to start to build up these points of knowledge. And I'll talk about that, when we start to talk about this last part there about building up to our passing score. So what's going to be on the exam? Let me focus in. Let's say level 1. If I could direct you towards, or if you had someone who could direct you towards saying, look, I've got about 120 questions or 120 items that you must know. I think that gives you an advantage right away. Okay, so I want to tell you something. This is really coming down to where I think that you're going through this and you need some type of guidance here. Okay, people who've been through. You're asking people, hey, you did level 1 last year. You did level 2. What was your experience like? You're asking people. And that is the best teacher, where you got somebody who's got the experience to help you through this. So learning to anticipate exam questions, where do you get this? You start to look at some of the materials that are available. I'll comment on that. Okay, and then you start to jump in to answer these questions. Okay, and this is where you're practiced. And you're going to practice material that is produced by CFA Institute, okay? And then if you exhaust that, then you start to look to the third-party material. I find a lot of candidates ignore there's golden material available. So build your knowledge base, okay? Anticipating exam questions. I can tell you something, as a CFA exam prep expert. That's what I call myself. I'm a CFA exam analyst. That's what I do. I'm not working in the industry. I analyze the CFA curriculum and the material to come up with what I think is going to be on the exam and to help you out to say, yeah, boy, you're in trouble. If you don't know what consumer surplus is, for example, level 1, or level 2, let's just talk about saying adjusting a income statement for pension entries. If you don't know what we're focused in on, if I'm talking about there, I think you're in trouble, because that's likely to show up and you got to be able to nail it. Or level 3, if you don't know how to properly calculate the required return for a pension or an endowment or an individual investor, you're giving up easy marks. Okay, so I might be even stating the obvious there, but I mean, this is really critical to do. The building your knowledge base, to me, this is the activity that you have to do. It's the grunt work. It's the groundwork. If you could find some source, that has, cleared a path, okay, the groundwork. If you found a source, okay, like someone who can take you through the program, to shorten the time commitment. Okay, this is the area where I believe, if I could spell it correctly here, shorten, okay, the time required, okay, this is the area where you can save time. The high payoff activities like practicing questions, that's you got to put in the time. Okay, so if you can shorten the time required to do the groundwork, okay, then I think you're on to the high payoff activities. And I want to tell you something. Okay, look, a lot of people say it, but comments that I get from people who go through my program, use my material, is that this is exactly what they felt the benefit was. They said, Prof Gordon, did all the groundwork, did all the heavy lifting, got rid of all those barriers, and allowed me to jump right in to these high payoff activities and learning, how to answer these questions, building up to our passing score targets. I make the old joke, okay, level 1, if we know about arithmetic mean and versus geometric mean and we're ready for it, then okay, you need 159 more correct answers on the exam. And that's how I look at this. We're building up to get over a passing score. That is the way that I think that you need to think about this. Okay, so here to take the pressure off. Okay, I just want to tell you this, that the CFA exams are just pass or fail. That is it. There's no A's or B's or C's. So this is where I think we now need to get into starting to talk about some points that you must consider as a candidate. How are you going to prepare? How are you going to do this? So just to go back over, what we're talking about here. And I just want to make sure that you understand that you are looking at, over, 3,000 plus pages in the curriculum. Okay, so now here it is. What is your plan? That's what I'm asking you. Is your plan to read every page? If your plan is to read every page, hang up. You're done with this call. Get on those books. Okay, you've got a certain time period to prepare for this exam, and you got to go for it. Okay. Now, if you are like most people and you have those, life demands and, a limited time to study, then stay connected here. Okay. This is probably where I would say the majority of the candidates, or at least the ones that I see, fit in. Okay. So what does this mean? So you must be then saying you are looking for a source that can do the groundwork, shorten the time required for you to prepare and simply pass this exam. Okay, that is it. So now that's what I've dedicated my mission to. do. I do this full time, okay? And I've seen lots of candidates, going through this program. So here it is, and now let's just talk about this. Now, number one, okay, number one on your list. I want to just say this: the goal. Okay, the goal. Goal. You want to say it around the world? Go ahead. What is your goal? And your goal is just to learn enough to pass. Okay, if you think you're going to master all of this material, then I think you're in the wrong program. Okay, we've already said there's just too much information. The CFA curriculum has ballooned in content over the years. So if you think that you're going to, your goal is to master this material and become an expert investment analyst, that's noble, but I really doubt that is going to be, what's going to happen. I think that your goal must be to learn enough to pass, get on to the next level. I mean, it's a shame to say that as an educator, okay, but that is the way, that is it. And so if you buy into this, now we're on the same page here. So number 2, what are we doing? Okay, now you must be honest with yourself. Okay? If you're not going to be honest with yourself, then you're going to waste your time. Okay, and what do I mean by this, being honest with yourself? Okay, if you don't know something, okay, if you don't know something, then dedicate the time to learn it. Okay, that is it. I mean, so simple. It sounds, so simple. There it is. Okay, if you don't know it, dedicate the time to learn it. Don't just say, oh, that's what I think I know it. I think I know it, and push it off because you're fooling yourself. And if you're fooling yourself, then we'll see you back at the same level. Okay? I mean, that's the truth. Okay? Why is there a 40% pass rate? Why is there a 60% fail rate? Okay? I think this is it. People are not honest with themselves. Okay? So here it is. Be honest with yourself. Dedicate the time to learn it. Okay? If you don't have the time to learn it, then here it is. Find a coach. Someone here to help you, okay? To help, okay? What does that mean, a coach? You could find a study program. That could be in class. It could be online, a tutor. Anyone who has the credentials. Anybody who has the experience. Okay, so I don't want you just going and posting questions on Analyst Forum and saying, can you help me please? Because now you're at the mercy of who knows. Okay, so you got to find a credible source. And if you're in this because you want to pass and you understand that the CFA charter is going to propel your career, then it's an investment for you. Find someone who has the credibility to guide you through this. Okay, not just a place where you're still guessing and you're not sure. Okay, so does it mean you have to spend $1 million on preparation? No. But be prepared, okay? So there it is, and if you find that you're spending too much time learning things, then this is where the coach can come in and help you out, okay? And really save you a lot of time. Maybe a 5-minute conversation can save you an hour's worth of reading, or tips such as, you really don't need to know the derivation of the formula for the present value of an annuity. You can use your calculator. I know you want to really understand it, but that's not going to pay off on this exam. So you really must come back to learning how to pass this exam, learning what you need to know. Okay? I've had lots of students who want to learn the derivation of that formula and understand why. And I tell them, you know what, that's really nice. Go for it. You're not going to get through the material. You're not going to pass the exam. And I'll see you back here at the same level. So be honest with yourself. If you don't know something, then dedicate the time to learn it. Okay, how are you going to know if you learned something? Okay, test yourself. Okay, do questions. And this is it. If you think you know something, if you're going through the curriculum or you're going through an end of chapter question or practice exams or any mock exam questions, then if you think you know it, then good. Be confident in your abilities. But if you're just fooling yourself, you were just guessing and things, then you really don't know it. Go back and learn it. Okay. So now number three. Number three is when you're testing yourself, you must be able to learn to recognize why you got something wrong. Okay, so the key is why. Why did it happen? Okay, you're testing yourself on material. You're working through questions. Why? Okay, and I come down here and I start to think about this, and number one, you didn't know it. Okay, you just didn't know. Okay, easy fix. Okay, what do? Okay, you go and you look it up. Okay, you study. Okay, that's it. Number two, you just forgot. I forgot the formula. I couldn't remember. Okay, well now we know what to say. I go back to my notes, or I go and I forgot the formula for standard deviation. Okay, now I've got it. Let's just repeat going through it here. Okay, and number three. Here maybe you just you misinterpreted the question, and this happens a lot. Okay, and I see it happen at all three levels. Level 3 candidates writing nice answers, but to the wrong question. Okay, so the bottom line here for all of these items are, it's going to lead in general here. It's going to lead to the action, and this is now the high payoff activity. What do? Do you need to go back and look it up because you didn't know the concept? Yeah, I was studying through that. I had no idea what they were talking about. You didn't study it. Okay, great. Go and reread it. You forgot a formula or something, or good. Let's just review it. Keep it in your mind. Go back over the question again. No harm in redoing questions. What's going to happen? You're going to train yourself to recognize signals so you know how to answer these questions. You don't continually have to search for new questions. Think about Olympic athletes preparing. They go around the same track. They keep running. They don't look for a different race track. I better run here. I better run at the next stadium. No, they go around the same track and they keep preparing. Okay? Misinterpreted. Now this is it. Oh, you know what? You had the knowledge, but you just didn't read the question carefully. So this is it. Learning to recognize why you got something wrong and what you should do about it. Now, let's drop down here to say, well, how do I put this all together? This is number 4. And no matter if you're using prep provider materials or anything else, I think that you must use CFA Institute. If I could spell it, CFA Institute resources. Okay, these to me, these are the gold. Okay, CFA Institute publishes, as you know or may not know, practice questions. Okay, these practice questions are online. They're fantastic. A lot of my students have told me that they were the best preparation that they could do for the exam. They have mock exams that you can use. And don't save them to the week before or the 2 weeks before the exam. Look at them now. You're not going to spoil any surprise. This is a great indication of what you're up against so that you can know what to shoot for. Okay, trust me, you're not going to run out of questions. Okay, go for it. And what else? The end of chapter questions, in the readings. I think that these are an invaluable source. Some people say, oh, they're so easy, but I think that some of them you got to go and say, these are exam level questions, and some might go beyond the exam, but I think they're excellent sources. And the last one, I'm going to give it its own space here, because these are my triple star, okay? Blue box examples, okay? And if you don't know what the blue box examples are, let me click down to the curriculum. I just pulled up, this is level 2, this is intercorporate investments, and I love the curriculum, being able to flip through certain areas. They've got the learning outcome statements, but let me just scroll right down here. This is for level 2, financial reporting analysis. When I drop down to these blue box examples, here they are, blue box example, and it looks like it flows as an item set. Okay, so if you're level 2 and you're not going through these, any level, doesn't matter. I think that you're really setting yourself behind. I go through, and these are great learning tools. If you've been able to build your knowledge base, let's say, do you have to read every single word here? No. Once you learn how to account for investments in financial assets, then you can jump right into the questions. That's the high payoff activity. You know what to do. Can you interpret this information? Because this is how it's going to show up on the exam. And I follow through, and I go through these examples, and they seem to flow as item sets. I drop down. Let's go to the next one, example 2. This just adds in. Now we've got a 20% increase. Now we've dropped down here, and we're looking at this, let's say the equity method, for example. And you keep rolling through, and now here, the equity method in terms of what happens if there's excess in terms of the payment in terms of the book value. They start to talk about here, how can I get down to the goodwill? It just flows to me as item sets. So I can see it right here through the curriculum. So I think that is a must, a go-to source. So I think that what you're doing here, if you want to, talk about this, these study tips, okay? I got to tell you that there's a lot of information here, and let me just shrink it down so that it can fit on our screen here. What is your goal? Your goal is to pass this exam.